Just picture this for a second. I am just getting cozy with my blanket on the sofa, and I put YouTube on TV, and I come across this clip.
So I was like, okay, Penelope, you're gonna miss school today. We have to do this brand deal, blah, blah.
Well, boy, do I have things to say about this. Now, quick disclaimer before we go into the video, I mean absolutely no offense to anyone in the homeschooling or the home education community. I am not against homeschooling. I see many benefits of homeschooling. I can understand why somebody might take their child out of the school system, or maybe not even put them in the school system in the first place. My reaction is purely on this clip. I'm not going to generalize to the wider homeschooling community. It is just on this clip. My opinion comes from a qualified teacher who is in education, who has taught many hundreds of children. I just wanted to put my view out there, and that is it. I'm not generalizing to the entire homeschooling community. That is totally unfair, and that wouldn't be appropriate of me. So with that in mind, let's get into the video now that we're all on the same page. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Miss Paris, and on my channel you can find tips, advice, and information all about teaching. This is kind of a series of videos that I'm trying out of a different style, reaction videos, because I really want to kind of advocate for children. So I reacted twice to Ruby Frankie, 8 Passengers, and obviously, you know, there it was all about the kind of aspect of safeguarding and whether as schools, teachers, they could have noticed some things or whether they reported it. Today I'm looking at a child's right to education, and whether this particular case is really keeping in mind the children's education and not maybe prioritizing other things going on in their lives. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment below, and subscribe. If you are a teacher or aspiring teacher, go and check out some of my other playlists, because there are so many videos on there that could help you in your journey.
We could not go anywhere. We could not take vacations. We could not do nothing. So it felt like we were... Yeah,
God forbid, like, we had to go do... Because the thing is with us, we work from home.
Yeah.
And we do social media. So you guys, some of you guys may or may not know, social media comes with a lot of, like, opportunities and traveling opportunities and just, like, a lot of things that come your way.
Events.
And I'm sure we've turned down a few things just because we couldn't pull Penelope out of school anymore.
Yeah.
And
so this is an interesting point. From them as kind of like a brand almost, you know, this is their livelihood, this is their job. From that point you kind of get it, but shouldn't that be an appropriate sacrifice, turning down an event, turning down a trip because of your child's education? They're kind of saying, you know, it sounds like the school, the education, was an inconvenience. And in case you don't know who these people are, because I didn't until I came across the clip, it is the Bramfam, and currently they have 2.7 million subscribers. So you can imagine that because they are a family vlogging channel, they're going to have a mixture of audiences from maybe parents that are trying to relate to children because they like seeing other children on the YouTube videos that are their same age. So you've got a mixture of audiences, and what they're saying here really doesn't shed them in a good light. It's kind of like saying, oh, do you know what, I want to, as a parent, I want to travel the world, but annoyingly my kid's in school and it's such an inconvenience. Those are the things that actually you need to think about your priorities, because education isn't just something that's compulsory because, you know, they're trying to be annoying. You know, education is at the forefront to be able to gain new skills in order to socialize, network, read, write, in order to get jobs in the future, in order to progress into further education, maybe college or university. And right now they're just making it sound like an inconvenience, which really offends me, because education is at the heart of everything, and for them to make it sound like an inconvenience, it hurts.
It's like, it's frustrating.
Yeah, so we felt like we were in prison.
They felt like they were in prison because they couldn't go to an event or on a holiday because their child was in school. Can we just reflect on all of those people that right now are maybe in war zones, or places that aren't in war zones, but, you know, you have children, women that have been deprived and are still being deprived of an education? Is that not a form of prison? But they're living in a £1 million house, they've got so much income coming in from YouTube, but they're in prison. I mean, when you have such a huge audience, you need to be careful of the words you are using, because they will have international viewers and people that may have undergone some horrible things in their life, in education and probably in other industries as well, you know, like in therapy and things like that. We refer to adverse childhood experiences as ACEs. This can be anything varying from divorce all the way up to war or ABUSE, things like that. They are all adverse childhood experiences, and depending on how many of those you can experience might affect your mental health and your physical health later on. So the research would indicate that the more ACEs you have experienced, the more likely you are to maybe repeat patterns, or to have trauma, or to need therapy, or to have physical illness, all these kind of things like that, substance misuse, etc. And for them to say, because we couldn't go on this free holiday or this event, we were in prison because we had to keep our child in school and we couldn't take them out, it's just so, I don't know, morally I find it incorrect. I don't know if that's fair of me to say that, but they really need to think about it. I mean, they have edited this. They could have easily taken that out and been like, oh, that was probably a bit melodramatic. I mean, when I was thinking about making this video after watching the clip, I thought, am I being melodramatic? But it just needs to be said, because they have such a big audience that actually, who holds them accountable for the content that they're putting out and the messages they're putting out?
I think what started happening was, okay, so we started getting parent-teacher conferences, because Penelope would start going to school late, and she would start going to school tardy, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Randomly, she would start going to school tardy. Yeah. And we started getting parent-teacher conferences. So I don't think did you ever attend one? Or I
don't think I attended one.
No,
I don't think so.
Okay, so I would attend all of them, because Lewis, like, he could care less about these things.
Yeah,
like, I don't care.
Sorry, so the dad couldn't care less about parent-teacher conferences, which in England would be called parent meetings. Why? Is this not important for you? Is it, again, an inconvenience for you? It just doesn't suit with the rest of the structure of the day, or the day in the life vlog? Why do you not care? Especially as you know it's due to something that's within your control. You know, assuming that the parent-teacher conference is because of the lateness of their child, then why would you not care? Like, it says, I haven't watched any of their videos before. These are completely new people to me. I don't want to make assumptions. I'm not going to say anything about their parenting, but just off this first impression, to me as a teacher, if I had a parent that never came up when I'm trying to sort something out, see if there's an issue as to why they're late, seeing if we can help at all, and it's only one half of the parents that come because the other couldn't be bothered. There's loads of other reasons why you might only have one parent come up to a meeting. It might be because they're busy, or maybe they're divorced, or they're co-parenting, or whatever. The other one's doing, you know, looking after the child while the other's in the meeting. That's fine. But she didn't give any of those excuses. She literally said it's because he couldn't care less. And he's just nodding his head, agreeing with that. And, you know, I don't think that's on. Am I the only one thinking that?
Like, she's just like that, but I'm very like, no, I have to be at the like, I take her schooling and everything very seriously. And Lewis just like, he knows I am like that, so I handle all of it. But I remember going to a parent-teacher conference, and they were like, why is Penelope being so late to school? Blah, blah. And the teacher was telling me, like, this affects her because when she gets here, like...
Oh, I'm not really sure about the blah, blah, blah bit. I don't know if that's just her trying to hurry on the conversation and not narrate too much. But this is normally like, I don't know, like a 20-minute video, 15-20-minute video. So clearly they're happy to elaborate on their story. I think blah, blah, blah is quite immature. I think, you know, you're talking about something really serious here. You're talking about your child's education. And these parent-teacher conferences are always extra on top of the teacher's workload. So either the admin in SLT in England, either they're kind of telling the teacher to arrange those meetings, or the teacher's doing it off their own bat. But still, like, that's extra time coming out for them, and for it to be summarized as blah, 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 or Lewis couldn't care less, I just don't think there's much respect there for either the education or the teacher, or even the progress of their child. I mean, again, that is alleged, obviously, but it's just the language that they're using just doesn't sit well with me.
We're already done with math, and then I have to go over what she's doing in math, and then she gets very like anxious, and I'm noticing Penelope is just far behind, and blah blah, like you have to be here on time if you're not here on time. And
okay, the blah blah again. But the teacher made a really, really valid point about being there on time, because there is so much to fit in. There is so much, you know, content to fit in a day. It's really, really fast paced. You have a timetable, you have to stick with them. Previously, you know, I've worked in places where they have literally come round to the classes according to where you should be on the timetable, and they're like, why haven't you started this yet? Well, you should have been doing this lesson when I came according to your timetable. And it's really, really fast paced. And if a child comes 10, 20, 30 minutes late, especially depending on the year group they're in, they could have missed an entire lesson. And if you think about missing an entire lesson maybe once a week, maybe 3 times a week, it really has an impact. And that teacher, you know, she just said the teacher was having to go over it with her, which again comes out of the teacher's time. I don't know when she would have fit this in. Maybe it was during a break time, which means that they didn't get a break. Sorry, I'm saying she because I thought she said that the teacher was a woman, but if that's in her, I apologize. But yeah, it's really difficult. And you know, they were talking about their child actually feeling anxious as a result. And for a lot of parents, caregivers, that's why they take their child out of school in the first place. It's because of the anxiety. But if the anxiety can be reduced by waking up earlier in the morning, getting to school on time, then that whole transition is done with a lot more ease, because they come in at the same time as their peers, they do the same, you know, schedule routine as their peers, they have the whole input to do. It's not a rushed, okay, so this is what we did earlier, as you can see, here are the questions, maybe just try, we'll do one together, maybe try the next few. They've missed the whole input, they've missed the examples, they've missed the live modelling, they've missed maybe the questions, they've missed the assessment for learning to see who might need extra support. And, you know, if it's having an impact on a child so much that the teacher can see that they're being anxious, something needs to be done about it. And the way that they're kind of using this as a build-up to say why they took their child out of schooling, right now it doesn't look like the school is the issue here. It doesn't look like the education system is at fault. It sounds like they're really trying to be proactive in helping this child. Obviously, like I said, I don't know if there have been issues that have happened in the past, if there's any context to maybe additional reasons why the child might be being anxious at school, but I'm just going from what this clip says, and at the moment, it sounds like just changing some things in terms of timing and the routine might make a difference to the child's anxiety.
The teacher was like mad at me, and I was like, okay, you know what? I need to take the teacher's her feelings into consideration, because I wouldn't want to have to redo a whole lesson because a kid is coming to school late. So I was like, okay, I get it. Like, we're going to try harder. I get it. And I don't want Penelope.
I like that. I appreciate that. You know, that she's trying to take the teacher's feelings into consideration, and that she doesn't want her child to be behind. Obviously, nobody wants that when it's avoidable. And I think it's good that they'll try and change that routine. If you are watching this and you think, oh, that's easier said for you, like, you know, you don't have any children, because I don't, you know, you don't know what it's like, rush in the morning. Well, from a teacher's perspective, what I've done to help children that might forget equipment, that might struggle in the morning, is one thing I've done is checklist for the children to take home, and they have it. So what they can do is they can tick it off with a whiteboard pen, or they can be in charge of preparing themselves, and then the parent caregiver can just check afterwards that they've got everything. That really helps with accountability and independence. So I did this for children kind of like 6 onwards, because in the UK we start school at 4 years old. And another thing that can help with this is if a child is anxious about coming into school, not because they've been late or anything like that, and they're reluctant to get ready in the morning because they're anxious to go to school, then try and arrange you know, a different kind of provision for them in the morning. Could they come in 5 minutes early before their peers and just do some colouring to settle into the environment, have a nice little chit chat? Could they maybe have like a little breakfasty snack? Just see why that child is anxious, if there's a particular reason, and try and do something to help. So I had a child with anxiety and they came in a different door in the morning. So sometimes they came in with like a peer, but they were away from the mad rush of everyone coming into the room first thing in the morning. They were approached by SLT or another member of staff that was trusted by them and tried to like ease them, have a nice conversation. Again, building relationships is key, and then they would help them come into the classroom. So there are lots of different ways to go about things. I think very often it's easy to label a feeling, to acknowledge how somebody's feeling, but we don't necessarily try and combat that. We just think hopefully with practice or doing it more often, it will just get better, but that's not necessarily addressing the feeling, but also any behaviors that might come as a result of that feeling. You know, if a child is anxious and they're unsettled, maybe they have special educational needs and they're coming into the classroom and maybe, you know, they're starting to get a little bit hostile with their peers or the teacher because they're not settled. Why, you know, how could we have addressed that anxiety that may have started this sequence of behaviors? So, you know, I look forward to maybe if she tells us how she's trying to improve that, then, you know, maybe we can take that on her word, and hopefully that means that there will be improvements in the situation.
Be feeling like anxious and feeling like she's behind, you know, when they're learning a new subject and then she gets there 30 minutes late and then she doesn't understand what's going on. So I took both their, you know, feelings into consideration. I was like, okay. So I was like, Lewis, like, we really need to be serious. Like, I wasn't, not we, but you.
Yeah,
I was like,
tough.
you need to like be like faster in the mornings, like stop being so slow.
It was tough because, bro, you know how long Penelope, she wouldn't want to get up. She'd be slow. She wouldn't want to brush her teeth. Nothing. She'd cry.
Yeah.
Being slow in the morning, not wanting to get dressed, those kind of things. And he also mentioned that she would cry, the child would cry. Again, try and think about why she's crying. Is she nervous about going to school? Is it just because she's tired? So maybe she could go to bed earlier in the evening. Could you do something that might make them excited for school? Maybe could you arrange to see a friend at the gate and they walk in together? Could it be that actually maybe they make a drawing to show the teacher so that, you know, there's that kind of like wow factor from the teacher that makes them excited to go into school? In terms of getting them dressed quicker in the morning, prepare clothes the night before. Maybe you could, if there's like that aspect of control from the child, ask them to select between two outfits that you've already chosen, so that first thing in the morning they're excited to put those clothes on because they chose that, they can do it by themselves. You could almost do like a visual, this is very common for children with special educational needs as well, have a now and next board. So you have the task that's now, and then they can see what's coming up next, and then obviously once that next is done, you change the board. So it could be like, now we're going to get dressed, next we're going to, I don't know, whatever the routine is, get into the car or, you know, grab our bags, and that can help the whole process as well.
So we had that meeting, and then further along, you know, the school year kept coming and we got opportunities. For example, so as you guys know, I do social media with all the kids, and I would get opportunities.
And this is already something that is becoming a big topic of conversation at the moment. It's kind of whether or not these family vloggers, these influencers, whether it's on YouTube or on Instagram, etc., whether they are exploiting the children because of their fame. Like, are the children getting paid for all of this work? Some parents are paying their children, others haven't disclosed that. But it's really difficult. And another thing that's coming up a lot in conversation is the term sharenting, which is parents oversharing about their children. You know, we're starting to see clips of the first generation of these child influencers now growing up and actually voicing how they feel. You know, studies are starting to, I don't want to say they've come out, but, you know, people are kind of suggesting that studies should be made as to what kind of trauma these children might experience growing up, because everyone knows who they are, but they don't know everyone. So, you know, it's being recognized in the street, or there have been, you know, fans that have threatened children at school and horrible things like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. So this is already a controversial topic, working with the kids and the kids having brand deals. But what is coming up is probably the shocking part.
For the kids to do a brand deal, and that's basically sponsored content. So they would get, for example, Penelope worked one time with a vitamin company, a kids vitamin company. And we had to do, I think like a couple of Instagram reels. And when she comes back from school, then, you know, I don't want to have her working. I want her to relax. And then by the time the sun's already going down and I need good lighting for content, you know how all that goes. So I was like, okay, Penelope, you're going to miss school today. We have to do this brand deal, blah, blah, blah.
Did you hear that? So they come back from school. Mum doesn't want them to work. Absolutely fine. That's definitely fair enough. Wants them to relax. Then the sun comes down, so you lose that natural lighting. So, in order to film those Instagram reels, you're going to miss school today. You know, but also they're so famous. How many brand deals are coming in? How many days of school is she losing? So if you think about maybe every single, let's do worst case scenario. Every single day she arrives 30 minutes late, and then occasionally, let's average it to maybe once a fortnight, although I'm sure they get brand deals more often than that, they just miss school. And maybe in the past, because they said that they were no longer able to take her out of school. So let's say in the past, they missed school for vacations, for things like that. What is going on with this child's education? Where is the focus? If they said, right, well, do you know what, she missed a day, but actually we made sure to catch up, we asked for homework to be taken home, we got a tutor in on, I don't know, the Saturday or the Sunday just to catch her up. Okay, do you know what, it's not great, but at least you're trying to proactively combat the education, the lessons that she's missed. But they are physically taking her out of school to do these brand deals. And I don't know how old she is, but like at no age is that acceptable. I know that there are some college children that are dropping out in order to pursue TikTok. Do you know what? That's fine. You're older than 18. That's your choice. But she might want to go to school. She might want to go and see her friends and do what her peers do. You know, in taking them away from school, you're taking away that kind of socialization and the expertise of the teacher. And, you know, I think that's what a lot of people say about homeschooling is the question, like, how do you get them to socialize with others? And there's definitely loads of ways that you can do that. You know, there are clubs such as like Beavers, Scouts, all that kind of jazz. You might take them to, you know, sports kind of activities, football or dancing, etc. That's not an issue here, but it's taking them physically away from their norm in order to do a brand deal, in order to earn money. And do you know what? Content creating as a money, you know, earning method, fine. That's absolutely fine. But your child hasn't consented to that. You have stated you're not going into school today. What if the child really wants to? What if they were looking forward to a science experiment that day? Or they wanted to show off their project? Or, you know, they wanted to do their Spanish lesson because they love Spanish, it's their favorite subject. Why are you depriving them of that when they have the opportunity to do that, when we're in the privileged position that, you know, that child, especially as a girl, she can go to school? Why would you take that away in order to film an Instagram reel? To me, it's just like the two things just don't fit together. I physically can't make sense of it.
So she would miss school every so often, either for brand deals or when we would go on vacation. So then I got a call from the school and they're like, hey, you need to come in for a parent-teacher conference. And I'm like, oh Absolutely. My God, here we go again.
Absolutely. Especially in some schools where, I have mixed views about this, by the way, where some schools kind of celebrate attendance. That child is never going to get celebrated for attendance. That child can never feel proud that they have managed to attend as many days as possible because they know that they've been kept home and had to do Instagram reels. But do you know what? I think this already says enough. I think we need to bear in mind that this is a right for children. Children deserve an education in whatever form it is. So whether it's tutoring, via homeschooling, whether it's, you know, via an actual school, whether it's through a virtual online school, you know, even those child actors like, you know, Harry Potter, where they were, you know, filming for months at a time, they had a tutor on set. Education is vital. It is so important, not just to, you know, I don't even want to say be a success in life, but just to be able to read and to write and for opportunities to come open to you. I just don't understand how they could even think this, let alone say it aloud, let alone edit it and then still publish it. It's not something to be proud of. Yes, well done for your brand deals. Yes, well done for your 2.7 million subscribers. But your child is being deprived of an education when she actually has the opportunity. This needs to be changed. And there's 2 other clips that I have done a similar thing for. One is the Bramfam, and the other I wanted to discuss Ruby Frankie, because obviously she put her children in school and then she took them out to home educate. And there is a clip related to connections that I really want to discuss, because again, it's kind of influences homeschooling, but for reasons that I don't necessarily agree with. And I just think it needs to be addressed. Like this whole exploitation thing, this oversharing phenomenon, it needs to be spoken out about, because there aren't necessarily checks being done on homeschooling families, and some might be amazing. I was gonna swear there. Some might be amazing. Some children may be thriving and maybe they weren't in a classroom, but there needs to be checks, there needs to be things looked into. I saw on their channel that they have a thumbnail of "we got a new teacher." I looked into it, it was a prank on their kids, and then there was a little bit of discussion from the mum on what she did. She's doing like a Christian-based curriculum, she had some workbooks, but yeah, how consistent is it? Was it just that, you know, they decided to film it this day? Do they do it frequently? Obviously I hope so, but I feel like there needs to be some way of holding people accountable, especially when they say things like this publicly. How are we protecting the children and their education? That's all I'm going to say for now. If you would be interested in the other 2 videos, which I have yet to film, then please let me know. Please let me know your opinions on this as well. Am I being really dramatic? Did they just, you know, say this like because it happened once, and actually I really don't know. You know, the video, the title of the video is "Taking Our Kids Out of Public School to Homeschool, and Here's Why." To me, I conclude that as we were getting parent-teacher conferences, the child was anxious because she kept turning up late, she would cry in the morning, but they didn't explain why, and also for brand deals and going on vacations. Have I misinterpreted that, or is that what you guys got as well? Let me know. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye bye.